In the midst of a blinding sandstorm on the Kenyan savanna, a 40-year-old biologist lay unconscious beside her overturned jeep, surrounded by a pride of growling lions. But instead of tearing her apart, the lead lion protected her like an old friend. What secret lay behind this extraordinary event? Elena, 40, was a seasoned biologist at Kenya's Masai Mara Reserve. With over 15 years devoted to studying wild lions, she was renowned for her courage and rare dedication. The Masai Mara, a land of boundless grasslands where dazzling sunlight often painted the majestic landscape, had become her home. She frequently drove her weathered jeep along dusty trails, her keen eyes tracking every movement of the lords of the savanna. But today, nature turned against her. A sudden sandstorm roared in, bringing howling winds and thick dust that swallowed the sky. Elena's jeep shuddered violently before a fierce gust flipped it over. She was flung out, her body slamming hard onto the searing sand, and consciousness slipped away in an instant. When she came to, the familiar hum of the engine was gone, replaced by the shrill whistle of the wind and the deep rumbling sounds of lions drawing near. The pride encircled Elena, their eyes glinting through the hazy dust. The lead lion, with its thick mane and regal presence, stepped forward. Yet instead of baring its fangs in attack, it settled beside her, growling softly, as if to keep the others at bay. This bizarre behavior begged the question: what had turned a ferocious predator into a guardian? What secret from Elena's past with this lion awaited discovery? 6 months earlier, 6 months before, on a scorching afternoon across the vast Kenyan savanna, Elena was on her routine patrol. As she guided her jeep through the dry grass, an unusual sound stopped her in her tracks. A faint, pained whimper, echoing from the distance. Guided by her instincts as a wildlife protector, she steered toward it. What she found pierced her heart. A young male lion, its golden fur still sparse, writhing in a poacher's wire trap. Sharp coils of steel bit deep into its flesh, and dark red blood streamed from a gaping wound on its back, staining the grass below. The lion growled faintly, but its eyes held not hostility, but a desperate plea for help. Without a moment's hesitation, Elena grabbed her medical kit from her backpack. Her hands trembled slightly with adrenaline, but she steadied herself with the calm precision her work demanded. Kneeling beside the lion, she carefully snipped each wire loop with pliers. With every cut, the animal let out a soft whimper, as if it knew she was there to save it. Once the final wire was removed, Elena gently cleaned the wound with saline, then bandaged it with gauze and antiseptic. She didn't leave its side right away. For days, she stayed, bringing food and water, watching for signs of recovery. Slowly, she saw trust flicker in its golden eyes, an unspoken bond forming between them. Weeks later, as the wound healed, it left a striking scar on the lion's back, a distinct X shape etched into its golden fur. Elena gazed at it, recognizing it as an indelible mark, a vivid reminder of the moment she'd saved its life. She smiled, her heart swelling with pride and joy for doing what was right, unaware then that this X-shaped scar would one day lead her to a miraculous encounter. The unexpected sandstorm on the sprawling Kenyan savanna. Elena sat behind the wheel of her trusty old jeep, navigating the rugged red dirt roads. Today was special. She was tracking a pride of lions she'd grown close to over months of research. The sun blazed overhead, its harsh heat shimmering the air like a distorted mirror. Elena, in her worn baseball cap, kept her sharp eyes on the path ahead, her heart buzzing with excitement. Rangers had tipped her off that the pride was heading toward a nearby grassland, and she couldn't wait to observe them at dusk. All seemed routine. The jeep's engine growled steadily, mingling with the rustle of wind through the dry grass. But a few kilometers later, an uneasy feeling crept over her. She glanced up at the sky, clear and bright that morning, now shadowed by a strange gray band on the horizon. At first she mistook it for a rain cloud, but then she saw it moving, fast and relentless. A towering wall of sand stretching to the heavens was barreling toward her like an unseen beast. "Sandstorm!" Elena cried, her voice cracking with panic. She'd heard tales of sudden savanna storms, but never imagined facing one this colossal. With no time to spare, she slammed the gas pedal, searching for shelter. A boulder, a dense bush, anything to shield her from nature's fury. But the savanna stretched out bare and unforgiving, offering no refuge. The wind screamed, hurling tiny, razor-like grains of sand. Elena's visibility shrank from hundreds of yards to mere feet. Sand pelted the windshield like bullets, forcing her to squint at the road. She gripped the steering wheel tight, but the Jeep began to quake, rocked by an invisible force. "I've got to get out of this," she urged herself. But just then, a monstrous gust struck from the side. The Jeep lifted off the ground, spinning wildly like a child's toy. Elena screamed, her voice lost in the storm's roar. Her body was hurled from the vehicle as the seatbelt snapped under the strain. She crashed onto the ground, her head striking something hard, perhaps a rock, and darkness swallowed her. She lay unconscious on the sand, the storm raging on around her. Elena unconscious in the wilderness. As the sandstorm finally subsided, the savanna returned to an eerie silence. The fierce winds had ceased, leaving behind a fine layer of sand that blanketed everything from the dry grass to the faint tire tracks on the ground. Elena lay motionless in this desolate landscape, her body curled in an unnatural position. A deep gash on her forehead oozed blood, dark red drops seeping into the sand, forming a small, winding trail like a tiny stream. Her breathing was faint, almost imperceptible, and her face was pale beneath the layer of dust. Not far away, her Jeep, once her pride and joy, was now a mangled wreck. The storm had completely destroyed it, shattering the windows, tearing the tires, and bending the frame like a sheet of paper. Inside the wreckage, her smartphone and radio lay scattered, their screens cracked and lifeless. These devices had been her only link to the outside world, but now they were just useless debris in the desert. Around Elena, there was no sign of life, no one in sight, only the sound of the wind whistling through the dry grass, carrying the chill of the approaching evening. The sun was setting on the horizon, casting long, dark shadows across the land. The temperature was dropping quickly, and the scorching heat of the day was giving way to the harsh cold of the savanna night. Unconscious, Elena had no idea she was lying on the edge of life and death. She was completely isolated, with no one to rely on, no way to call for help. The vast savanna, once a place she loved, had become a silent enemy, waiting to consume her. Night was closing in, and with the darkness, other dangers would awaken. But Elena lay there, motionless, unaware of the fate that awaited her. The lions appear on the vast Kenyan savanna. The fiery red sunset faded, giving way to darkness that enveloped everything. Cold winds swept through the dry grass, carrying the whispering sounds of the wild. Elena lay motionless on the dusty ground, her body huddled in her torn Green Ranger uniform after falling from a cliff. The wound on her forehead had dried, leaving a dark red streak down her cheek. Unconscious, she had no idea that danger was approaching. From the distance, a group of dark figures emerged, moving slowly but purposefully. It was a pride of lions, led by a mature male with a golden mane and eyes as sharp as gems in the dark. The lead lion walked with majesty, each step making the ground tremble, while the rest of the pride, females and a few cubs, followed silently. They sniffed the air, and the scent of blood from Elena's wound immediately caught their attention. The leader stopped, ears perked, nose twitching, then let out a low growl as a signal. The pride began to approach her. When they reached her, they surrounded Elena, forming a perfect circle. The lionesses stood behind, their eyes gleaming with hunger, while the leader stepped forward, lowering its head to sniff her motionless body. The smell of fresh blood stirred their hunting instincts, and soft growls rumbled from the other lions' throats, as if waiting for the command to attack. Elena, unconscious, was completely defenseless. She couldn't stand, couldn't run, and had no one or nothing to protect her in this wilderness. To the lions, she was just a weak prey, lying exposed on the sand, awaiting her grim fate. The lead lion leaned closer, its nose almost touching Elena's face. Its hot breath brushed against her skin, and in that moment, death seemed only a heartbeat away. But then something strange happened. The lion didn't bite or attack. It lifted its head, its golden eyes staring at Elena with a hint of doubt, as if trying to understand something beyond its predatory instincts. The lion recognizes Elena. The lead lion slowly circled Elena's body, its nose sniffing the air around her. Suddenly it stopped beside her, lowering its head to sniff her Green Ranger uniform. Though wrinkled and covered in dust, the uniform carried a familiar scent, the scent of the human who had saved it 6 months ago. 6 months earlier, Elena had risked her life to cut the steel wires wrapped around its leg, freeing it from a poacher's trap. On its back, a distinct X-shaped scar remained, a mark of that fateful encounter. In the lead lion's eyes, a spark of recognition flashed. It raised its head, observing Elena once more, then did something unexpected, something even the other lions couldn't anticipate. Instead of baring its fangs to attack, it slowly lay down beside her, its massive body shielding Elena from the hungry gazes of the rest of the pride. Then, it let out a soft but authoritative growl, a wordless warning. Don't come near her. The Tao. Other lions, though still aroused by the scent of blood and their hunting instincts, didn't dare challenge the leader's command. They stepped back, some lying down, others sitting still, watching from a distance with wary eyes. The space became strangely quiet, with only the wind blowing through the savanna and the steady breathing of the lions. The lead lion remained, there, its head resting lightly on its large paws, its golden eyes wide open, vigilantly watching every movement around them like a silent guardian. Elena stirred slightly in her unconscious state but didn't wake. She had no idea that she was being protected by the very lion she had once saved, a wild creature now repaying her kindness by shielding her from danger. In that moment, amidst the harsh savanna, a miraculous bond had formed, a connection that transcended the boundaries between human and beast, rooted in compassion and gratitude. The lead lion, with the X-shaped scar on its back, not only remembered Elena but was also willing to stand between life and death to keep her safe. In the wild world where the law of the jungle reigns, its action was a living testament that sometimes loyalty can surpass even the instinct for survival. Elena wakes up and recognizes the lion. Elena slowly opened her eyes, a dull pain spreading through her body like a persistent wave. She blinked a few times, trying to adjust to the faint golden light of the fading afternoon. Her head throbbed with each pulse, as if someone were hammering her temples. As her vision cleared, she realized she was lying on a patch of dry grass, the sharp blades pricking her skin through her thin clothing. But what made her heart clench wasn't the pain or the vastness of the savanna. It was the enormous dark shadows surrounding her. She held her breath, eyes widening as she recognized a pride of lions. The predators stood still, just a few meters away, their golden eyes gleaming with curiosity and caution. Their fur shimmered under the weak sunlight, muscles taut, ready to pounce at any moment. Elena felt the blood drain from her face, her heart pounding so hard she feared the lions would hear it. She wanted to scream, to run, but her rationality warned her that any sudden movement could turn her into their dinner. She lay still, trying to breathe evenly, though fear gripped her chest like an invisible hand. Among the lions, one male stood out with its massive frame and radiant golden fur. It was closest to her, its sharp eyes watching her without blinking. But what stunned Elena wasn't its majesty. It was the distinct X-shaped scar on its back. The scar was deep and old, like a symbol carved by time and pain. Memories flooded, her mind like a slow-motion film. Months ago, during a patrol in the reserve, Elena had found a young lion trapped in a poacher's wire snare. The animal had growled weakly, its eyes reflecting desperation and gratitude as she carefully cut the wires and bandaged its back. The X-shaped scar was the mark of that rescue. "It's you. You're still alive," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion and lingering fear. Her words were so soft they were almost carried away by the wind, but the lion seemed to hear. It let out a low, warm rumble from deep in its throat, as if responding meaningfully. Its eyes met hers, no longer those of a predator but of recognition, a though shared memory between two beings who had once touched the edge of life and death. The lion protects Elena. The silence was shattered by a chilling sound from afar. It was the high-pitched cackle of a pack of hyenas, opportunistic predators always lurking in the shadows of the savanna. They emerged from the horizon, their lanky shadows moving swiftly like the wind, eyes gleaming with hunger. The scent of blood from Elena's arm, a cut she didn't remember getting, had drawn them. They closed in, teeth grinding, their eerie laughter sending shivers down Elena's spine. She sensed the imminent danger, her body trembling uncontrollably. She was helpless, without weapons or a place to hide. But before the hyenas could charge, the lead lion with the X-shaped scar stood up. Its fur bristled, golden eyes blazing with fury. It unleashed a deafening roar, so powerful it seemed to shake the ground beneath Elena's feet. With the majesty of a savanna ruler, it lunged toward the hyenas, claws slicing through the air, jaws wide in threat. The hyenas, though numerous, dared not confront the lion's might. They yelped in panic, scattering into the darkness, leaving silence in their wake. As the danger passed, Elena exhaled in relief, her gaze fixed on the lion. It returned, standing proudly among its pride, its eyes still on her. In that moment, she felt a profound connection, transcending the boundaries between human and beast. The lion she had once saved not only remembered her, but was willing to risk itself to protect her, repaying a debt of kindness. Their bond needed no words. It was forged through acts of compassion and rare trust. The rescue team arrives. The savannas. Stillness was broken again, this time by the distant rumble of an engine. A dark green Jeep from the ranger team appeared on the horizon, dust billowing behind its wheels. After losing contact with Elena for hours, her colleagues had launched an urgent search. The Jeep's headlights swept across the grass, illuminating. The pride of lions and Elena sitting among them. The vehicle stopped. Doors flung open, and voices called her name into the air. Elena's colleagues stepped out, rifles in hand, but froze at the unbelievable sight. Elena, a biologist accustomed to dangerous expeditions, sat calmly amidst a pride of lions. No one dared approach, fearing any move could shatter the fragile balance. They whispered among themselves, eyes wide with astonishment and confusion. The lead lion stood, its golden eyes meeting Elena's one last time. It was a deep, lingering look as if bidding farewell. Then, with a regal toss of its head, it turned and led its pride away. The lion's silhouettes faded into the vast savanna, blending with the twilight. Elena watched them go, her heart heavy yet full. She knew the lion understood she was safe now, that it no longer needed to stay and protect her. Her colleagues rushed to her, helping her up, bombarding her with questions about what had happened. But Elena only smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks. She didn't answer immediately, her gaze still fixed on where the lions had disappeared. In her heart, she felt profound gratitude and a fierce belief in the miraculous bond between humans and nature, a story perhaps only she would ever fully understand. Back at the ranger station after an emotional day, Elena sat quietly by the den window, her gaze wistful as she looked out at the darkening savanna. The last rays of sunlight faded, but in her mind, the memory of the lion with the X-shaped scar burned bright, like an eternal flame. 6 months ago, she had risked her life to free it from a wire trap, simply because she couldn't bear to see a living creature suffer. At the time, she never imagined that small act would change her life forever. Today, that lion, now grown, powerful, and the leader of its pride, had returned to protect her from a pack of vicious hyenas. In the moment it roared, its steadfast eyes seeming to thank her, Elena felt a connection beyond human language. She wondered, had compassion planted an invisible seed that blossomed in the most miraculous way? This experience made her believe that between humans and the wild, there exists a bond only open hearts can perceive. The story of Elena and the lion came to a close, but its echoes lingered. It was a vivid testament that even a small act of kindness can forge unexpected, profound connections between humans and the wild. In the harsh world of the savanna, where survival is the unyielding law, a moment of compassion had wrought a miracle. This message reminds us that every good deed holds the power to transform, not just for the recipient, but for ourselves as well. What do you think of Elena and the lion's story? How can compassion create miracles in your life? Share your thoughts or your own stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more touching journeys about the animal world, Don't forget to subscribe to Animal Kisa. With just one click, you won't miss any future videos. Thank you for taking the time to follow this story. Your companionship is a great motivation for us to continue bringing meaningful content. See you in the next video on Animal Kisa.